My name is Diamond. Dan Diamond. I'm a cop. At least, I used to be. That was then, this is now. And nobody knows what tomorrow will be. That's the way things are, whether we like it or not. Please come, you are our only hope. Franklin's Tomb is an adventure for one player. Can you, as Dan Diamond, solve the riddle of the crypt, or will you fall prey to its mystery, as so many others before you? Franklin's Tomb comes complete with a 20-page, fully illustrated case file. From Salamander Software.
Since I started with this Franklin's Tomb introduction, we are going to start by Salamander Software. So Salamander did not release that many games on the Oric, but they started in 1982 as basically a friends collective developing program for the Dragon 32 because they thought that the existing software was not very good and that they could do better. So they started the Dragon and they eventually expanded to the MSX, BBC and Oric machine, and among that they ported a Star Trek game. So there are at least two Oric Trek on the Oric, but they are totally different, and the one from Salamander is much better. So Salamander made a number of games with big boxes, with a small manual. I'm not going to speak about that one very long, because this episode is about adventure games, text adventure games, and that one is not, but Oric Trek. And while we are at it, they also released these two small games, Classic Racing and Games Compendium. Classic Racing is a simple game, basically, up to 6 players. And that one is a collection of small games. Donkey Derby, Kingdom, Viper, Space Station. So yeah, nothing really more. So what we're interested in is the Dan Diamond trilogy, which consists of Franklin's Tomb, Lost in Space, and Fishy Business. So I have Franklin's Tomb there, I have Lost in Space there, and I'm unfortunately missing the third one, Fishy Business. Been trying to find it for at least 2 years and could not find it. I'm not even sure it was actually released on the Oric. I see some ads for it, but I've not actually seen either the executable of the game, so I don't know, maybe it's one of these mini games which were not ultimately released. The very nice thing about these games is that you get a nice manual, which is called a case file. And the manual is basically a part of the protection system because, contrary to many text adventure, so that one is purely text, but they use the manual to actually describe the places. The bathroom, the cells, the stairway, the aquarium. And there are a lot of hints. Sparrowhawk is innocent. Here there is a small break glass. Violet there, name of a certain number of people, a pedestal with some carrots, a pit with some crossbow. Praise ye Crunch, with some icons in the chapel. Combination lock, a small piece of 6, walls of ears. And so what they are saying is that there are hints in the game which are useful and some which are not. So it's a part of the game itself. So if you don't have the manual, basically you can't finish the game. And as you can see, Stargate assembled star to operate. Because in this game you start as a private investigator and you start in a tomb in weird places, but in the second episode you end up in space with another case file, and this time with robots. The storeroom, the lever room, the compass, a pie, Salamander Cybernetics Corporation, the Great Gargantua Brain Link, So something that looks like an actual Viking room. The dorm room, the conference room, the junk food gizmo, the nutrimatic, the nurse, some weird language in the bridge, the gallery, the library, with Don't Panic, from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I guess, the swimming pool, the waiting room, vortex load, 100 beings, weapons, grill, cocktail, armory, awful green things, and one of these robots that looks like from a classic sci-fi movie. My name is Diamond, Don Diamond. I'm a private investigator, at least I used to be, now I'm first-class schmuck. Sometimes you can't avoid life speedballs, and right now I'm batting a big fat 0. I was in a room filled with flashing lights, buzzers, buttons, levers, and all manner of kokamami devices. In the corner stood a hunk on tin that looked like a refugee from a Buck Rogers convention. Then it moved toward me. On here I have some ads. So that one is an ad for an actual game. The first one. And that one is for a game which was never released on the Oric. They released quite many games, and unfortunately only these few first made it. And yeah, I really like the ads they are doing. They were kind of funny and nicely drawn. A far cry compared to many advertisements of the 83, 84. Very nice work on it. If you go on eBay, you will often see it in this condition. And this is the Hobbit. Melbourne House. So with a warranty card, what product you purchase, which computer you own. And very often it comes without the actual manual. So you can see Oric 148K, which introduces you with the concept of adventure, the rules of English. For example, run, climb, wait, run quickly, viciously break the door. So it was quite a relatively advanced syntax analyzer, with possible to do multiple actions in one sequence. And it's real time. Animaction, they call that. If you spend too much time on a place, character move, so you are starting with Gandalf and Thorin, one of the dwarfs, and they don't wait for you. Which sometimes can be kind of a problem, because they are going to do actions like you need to give an item to somebody else, but for some reason Thorin decided to take it, like the map, and so you're struggling to find out what to do. And this is the Hobbit book, which came with it. It's the exact Unwin paperbacks. This is the right edition. So you can find this edition on eBay, generally in good shape. So if you have the Hobbit with the missing book, just get it, so you have the complete set. And there is that you can find as well, a guide to playing the Hobbit. It is not for any particular version, they are all similar. The only difference between the various versions of the Hobbit is the graphics. The Oric version is using line drawing, field graphics. Some scenes are relatively fast, some are relatively slow to display. But yeah, you can see the previous owner has been putting some clues, and there are some help on how to solve things. I have some example of graphics on other editions. But it's recognized as a one. Yeah, so this scene on the Oric takes forever to fill. On emulator, you can press F6. On the real Oric, you just have to wait and wait and wait. So yeah, this game is recognized as one of the very classic good game. Interestingly, there is a Tonsoft logo here. That's the only game released by Melbourne House, so Tonsoft was the publisher. It's not indicated in the credits anywhere, but I suspect the code was adapted by Tonsoft as well. I don't think Melbourne House did the actual Oric port. They probably did not have any Oric in Australia. And regarding Melbourne House, so the company started in 1980, they've been acquired by Infogram in 1999, and was sold in 2006 to a company called Chrome Studio. So now they are Melbourne Chrome Studio. I don't know if they still exist. I'm going to introduce this mystery thing. Cable Software, Tevrogs Kingdom 2, Quest for Power Extra Value Twin Pack for the Oric. So for what I found that they produced hardware, like expansion cards, RS-232 memory expansions, and the software that comes with it to communicate, mostly for the Dragon 32, and possibly for the Oric, Atom and Oric 1 as well. And they also released a couple of games. If you go on oric.org, you will see that we have Tevrog Kingdom, that one is number 2, Tevrog Kingdom 2, Quest for Power, Cave Quest, Oric Adventure. I've been trying, there is no pictures, no screenshot, no anything, so this one is an actual text adventure, and that one is not a text adventure. It is more like Caves of Moria, where you have a grid to navigate. Items are indicated and you need to find a mystical jewel. That one is an actual text adventure with a random placement of item. So the map is always the same, but depending each time you play, things are at different places. I don't think they are very good games, but I really like the way the text look. I think this is very pretty. It's very simple. It's just simple paper, but it looks very nice. The label are quite clean. Comes with a small miniature manual where I learned an interesting information because I was dying again and again. When you see something on the text that say this smells like an ogre or this smells like a troll, don't go into the direction, try to shoot in this direction. So basically it's a bit like Minesweeper, you have to figure out by deduction where the characters are. You start from a random place and start it. And apparently the monster and items don't change from game to game. So that give a chance to do it again. On Tevrog's Kingdom, they did not indicate 2, it's only indicated there. So it's not quite sure. So same nice pictures there. Tevrog's Kingdom 2, a real-time adventure for the Oric 48K. Interestingly, Tevrog, Tevward, and the software was called TevLink. So I'm not sure what Tev is, maybe it's the name of whoever founded the company. Level 9 Computing. Starting with the Middle-earth Trilogy, that was the original name, which for some obvious reason got renamed Jewels of Darkness. So the original version of Colossal Adventure, Adventure Quest and Dungeon Adventure were mentioning things like Moria, Rivendell and other Lord of the Rings location, but that has been changed in the final versions. Level 9 games have been released in 2 formats. The very first one were released in cardboard boxes, which may or may not have survived very well, because, well, you know, cardboard, where you get the manual, some instructions, some clues, and all of these also come with some nice posters. So, for what I know, there are 2 different posters. There is a science fiction one with shiny robots in space, which also act as do you have these games? I checked them all. None of these mention Oric ever, so I'm kind of disappointed. So this is a cardboard version of Colossal Adventure, and here we have the plastic box version, which is a bit bubbly, but generally speaking, in better shape. And the manuals are the same for all the versions. The main difference is that there is often a glued overlay depending on the version. So that one is for the Oric one, but I saw one for the MSX which had exactly the same thing but with a different small label on it. With if you need some clues or some more information, you can put a stamp. Yeah, or if you have questions. I promise to give the bearer on demand a clue. And Colossal Adventure clues, with a list of all items. And some action you can do. West twice from bed quilt, it is a treasure, jump through the window. Level 9 adventures, summer autumn 85, with the various game, various version. They even made game for Memotech, NASCOM. And yes, that's something I forgot to say. So, level 9 is the equivalent of Infocom, except they did their own language, like the Z machine of Infocom. You call the A code. The main difference is that most of Infocom games require a floppy disk drive, and level 9 computing managed to do the same thing, just loading from tape, so without using any additional memory. So I would argue that what they did is much more of an exploit than what Infocom did. And Infocom, by the way, the game have been ported by Fabrice Frances on Schema, so you can play them, Zor, something like that, with Pinforic. I will put a link in the description. We thought we'd give you more time to master this adventure on your own without the temptation of a clue sheet. This will not be issued before the middle of August. Best of luck. And yeah. And this is the second poster. That one with kind of dragons, and also the list of games. And it looks like the previous owner made some map. Dark Labyrinth, Black Hole, Giant Canyon. So this is the first one. Then we got Adventure Quest, which is the second part. Other games, Adventure Quest is the second in Level 9's Middle Earth trilogy, along with Colossal Adventure, Dungeon Adventure. We'll replace the enclosed cassette disc Metro Drive cartridge if you return it to Level 9. Explore Middle Earth, finding and following the hidden path leading to the Dark Tower. So, same thing. Different manual. Also the hint. And Dungeon Adventure, which is the third one. And then they tell you that a good adventure of the same type is Lord of Times, which we have here. So they have some kind of nice advertisement as well. You can see BBC, Commodore 64 Spectrum, links, NASCOM. I have never heard of NASCOM before. Oric and Atari, with some reviews. Something which is sad is that normally Lords of Time is the part 1 of Time on Magic. Red Moon and the Price of Magic were never released on the Oric. Despite of this is the first in the Lord of Time saga. From what I understand, I never finished the game, that the ending is kind of disappointing, because apparently they modified it, so it looks like it's kind of finished, but it was supposed to have 2 full games behind. But yeah, same thing, Lord of Time. And the same thing happened to the Silicon Dream trilogy, which was supposed to have Snowball, Return to Eden, and The Worm in Paradise. So we have the ad for Snowball, which had quite a lot of tests and reviews on in some of the adventure-related magazines. But yeah, nothing special. It has its own manual. And yeah, there have been a lot of articles about Level 9, how they worked, how the company was created, interviews, what their next step is. And there it's how to get help to finish a game. And I want to finish with this, the Quill. Basically, most of these games are using their own custom engine, but there's been a number of other games which have been released on Spectrum, BBC, Commodore 64, which have not been programmed at all. They were using this system, Gilsoft software, that they used originally for their own internal games, which is basically adventure writing system. This is a complete game editor, item, location. It compresses the text, and you can export your own game. It comes with its own loading system, which does checksum. What is the Quill? The Quill is an adventure writer which allows someone with no programming experience to create a machine code adventure. And in many magazines, you can find so many ads for the Quill. First on the Spectrum, and then they sold so many that they actually ported the editor to other machines. And yeah, apparently they made a fortune with that, and they even made a new version of the adventure writing system later on. So basically you declare rooms, on what you see in the room, on location, on how you transition from one location to another. You define some vocabulary, what maps to what, and combination of items. Hall, kitchen, dining, lounge, bedroom, cellar. There is really a lot of things. I believe it also has some kind of fancy encoding for text, so you can have things in inverse video or displayed in a special way. And you have some example on how to create a game. How to design your own. Yeah, so status of the interpreter and what it does and in which order. With actions, movement, and some hints on how things should be done. There is a limit of 255 objects. If you want to play these games, a few things to remember is that most of them were done for the Oric 1. If you try to load them on an Atmos, they will most probably fail. The Quill is known to have an issue because it has its own save system, which has been fixed in some recent version of Oriclopedia. If you use an older version, you may have an error when trying to load the game because it's doing a checksum. If you try to load an Oriclopedia game on Erebus, it's not going to work because Erebus replaces the internal ROM by an Oric Atmos ROM, so it's going to fail as well. But if you're trying one of these games, so in Oric 1 mode, and you are struggling, you can find the actual hints or sometimes a complete walkthrough with a list of instructions on the CASA adventure game website, which I put in the description as well. So yeah, I hope should give you some idea. Many of these games are very nice in terms of writing, but very non-obvious things. Like you really need to check all the details. You need to write down, make maps, check what's where. And it's frustrating. Don't expect to do any of these games in one single attempt. They are planned to be made on the long run. If you just try to do it once, or expecting to solve it in one go, you are sorely mistaken. Yep, I hope it was interesting. Bye bye.